Look, these guys are doing a good job, and they're doing everything they can to keep the people safe, but we have to remember that it's hard for them to do their job as well as they need to when they have a federal government that's making it so much harder. On day one, Kamala Harris, our border czar, suspended deportations. On day one, she proposed mass amnesty. On day one, she stopped building Donald Trump's border wall. And on day one, she proposed giving health care benefits and a whole host of other benefits to illegal aliens, encouraging them to come into our country. And now we're dealing with the consequences for it, even in places like Shelby Township, which the media would tell you is far away from the southern border and its problems. And geographically, of course, it is far away from the southern border, but it's not far away from its problems. I heard just today in the last couple of months about a mother and daughter who were just enjoying their day here in Shelby Township, and you had an illegal alien plow into them and kill this innocent mother and daughter. I talked earlier about this poor 11-year-old who had a heinous crime committed against this poor girl by an illegal alien, a person who was deported, who shouldn't have even been in this country in the first place. You can go through the list of things that are happening even here, and the simple message is we could do so much better. So to the American people, I'd ask you something very simple. Give these guys a federal government that makes it easier for them to keep American communities safe and not harder. One of the most heartbreaking stories I've heard on the campaign trail, and I've only been at this a couple of weeks, but one of those heartbreaking stories I heard was yesterday from two young kids, both teenagers. The youngest has been in 4 foster homes, and why have they been bouncing around? They've been bouncing around because their mother and father took fentanyl that was almost certainly brought in by the Mexican drug cartels, and that orphaned these poor children. And so to the American people who have a chance to choose a better path in November, I'd ask you to choose the candidate who will stop that fentanyl from coming into our communities, who will stop our parents from losing their lives to this terrible fentanyl overdose, and stop the children from dying as well. I'd ask you to vote for a candidate who wants to support our police officers, not make their lives harder. I'd ask you to support a candidate who wants to make it easier to deport illegal aliens and not harder. I'd ask you to support the candidate who has shown that he can deliver security in our streets. We just have to give him the opportunity to govern, and that's President Donald J. Trump. The contrast could not be more clear between a candidate. Every law enforcement agency is telling you Kamala Harris is bad news. She makes it harder to keep you safe. Donald Trump is good news. He makes it easier to keep you safe. We ought to give him a second term in office, and all of our communities will be safer and better and more prosperous because of it. So thank you all for what you do despite the policies of Kamala Harris. But I promise you, in just 6 months, the cavalry is coming. You're going to have a federal government who makes your life easier, not harder, but only if the American people support us and get us over the finish line this election.